Hey everyone, it's Wolfie with an IE, and welcome to my totally professional, seriesless video on why cephalopods are the greatest and why I, for one, welcome our new tentacled overlords. Now, in case you didn't know, I am completely obsessed with these creatures, and up until a couple days ago, I had no idea that Cephalopod Week was even a thing. Apparently, it was launched by a podcast called Science Week Friday, and this year's marked the 4th annual celebration of all things tentacled. What's cool about this is, even though it's called Cephalopod Week, which started on June 16th, it's actually 8 whole days long. And you could probably hear the unbridled rage in my voice right now when I admit that I had no idea this existed, even though I am in direct communication with the Cephalopod Emperor, and I've got an annual membership with the Cephalosquad, the new branch of the Illuminati dedicated to 8-armed superiority. But you didn't hear that from me. Seriously though, these animals are awesome. They're also scary smart, so of course they deserve to be celebrated. I'm going to talk about just a handful of things that make them among the coolest ocean dwellers out there. Okay, the first thing you need to know about these guys is they're of the class Cephalopoda, which means head foot. I want you to think about that for a second. Head foot. Let it sink in. Okay. Yeah, head foot. They're related to bivalves, which are things like scallops and oysters and clams. They're also related to snails and slugs and tusk shells and a bunch of other really weird stuff, most of which don't really have much in the category of brains. The cephalopods, on the other hand, have actually well-developed senses and large brains. Like I said earlier, they're known for their kind of scary intelligence. Now, there are a couple exceptions here to the main rule of the cephalopods having an internal shell, or in the case of an octopus, no shell at all. The nautilus has an external shell, but the squid actually has an internal shell called a pin. Insert "pin is mightier than the sword" joke here. The shell of a cuttlefish, on the other hand, is internal and is actually called the cuttle bone, which is the most adorable bone in any animal, and it's sold in a lot of pet shops to supply calcium to birds. And now, the entire reason for making this video in the first place, a flimsy excuse for me to talk about cool things about cephalopods, because I'm a geek and cephalopods are my Cephalosquad. Okay, now several octopuses, and it is octopuses by the way, not octopi, because you can't put a Greek word and a Latin ending together. It doesn't work. Trust me, they get really mad at you. The Latins, not the cephalopods. Okay, yeah. So several octopus species have been observed changing their behavior, body shape, and color to camouflage themselves, which means these guys can actually change colors depending on things like moods, although not exactly the kind of... They can literally do impressions of other animals, such as sea stars, fish, sea snakes, and even other species. They also eat jellyfish, presumably spread across breadfish. Yeah, I'm sorry. I am deeply apologetic about that one. But, and this is one of the coolest things on this list is the following quote, which is actually from John Steinbeck. I'm trying to think of what book this was in. It's escaping me at the moment. I'll try to put it down in the description, but this is the way he described cephalopods. Quote, "Then the creeping murderer, the octopus, steals out, slowly, softly, moving like a gray mist, pretending now to be a bit of weed, now a rock, now a lump of decaying meat, while its evil goat eyes watch coldly. It oozes and flows toward a feeding crab, and as it comes close, its yellow eyes burn and its body turns rosy, with the pulsating color of anticipation and rage." End quote. That's gotta be the most hardcore description of an octopus I have ever heard, and it makes it that much cooler in my opinion. Another cool thing about cephalopods, especially like say an octopus for example, and a squid, most of its brain is actually in its arms. And what I mean by that is, most of its neurons and synapses and all of that cool, I'm sounding way more scientific than I actually am, gooey stuff that makes you be able to think and apparently have conversations like this, even though they're full of the words and gooey, are contained within its tentacles. And the number one reason why cephalopods are among the greatest creatures to ever exist, they are so absolutely ridiculously adorable. I mean, have you guys ever seen the stubby squid? It's literally a squid that buries most of its body into the seafloor, only peeking out with its eyes and the top of its body, examining everything around it. That's pretty much my list, because honestly, I think that was pretty convincing, and now you understand why squids and cephalopods in general are destined to take over the world, so you better prepare yourself now. But in case it didn't convince you, I'm going to drop some other things in the description for you to check out that will totally get the job done. Well guys, this has been Wolfie with an IE, and thank you for listening to me ramble on about giant-headed, 8-armed beasties that I love so very much. Hope to virtually see you again, or not, maybe I'm watching you right now, in another video. See ya!